Just give it a shot when you put it on the camera.
A bit closer, maybe.
Okay. All right. Morning, everybody. If we could follow the usual format for these press conferences, please. If you wish to ask a question, raise your hand, and we will promote you from an attendee to a panelist. And as always, the recording of the press conference will be shared around the group later this morning. We're going to kick off with Kirsty, who has the privilege of being in the room with us, and then we'll jump into the guys who are on the Zoom call. Kirsty.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Kirsty.
If we could start with your team news, how are things looking?
The only player who's out still is Adam Eder, obviously, who was out for the season. And Andrew Amabamadeli has had, not great news. He's still struggling with his back. So he's going to be out for, the near future at the moment. So we're just waiting for an update on how long that will actually be.
That's not what you need, is it? You need all hands on deck at the moment.
Yeah, we'd like all hands on deck. I mean, what a good news is we've got Tim Krul, who's back in training, putting himself in contention. So that's good news to have somebody so experienced as him coming back. But yes, we'd like everybody, but it's football. Everybody has injuries.
Have you got a big decision there to make then in terms of your goalkeepers with Tim Krul returning?
Yeah, well, Tim's put himself into contention by training, so he's asking the question now of whether he gets back in. So that's a decision for myself to make.
Did you see enough in that performance against Liverpool to feel confident your team still has what it takes to be in this fight for survival?
Yeah, I think even more so after the performance at Liverpool. I thought it was a really good performance. You've got to go there, play well, and also have a little bit of luck. We didn't quite get that luck. They create big chances against everybody, as we saw last night against Leeds. So, it was a positive performance for us, and it was nice to have the likes of Matthias Norman back. A quality player such as him will certainly give everybody a lift.
Given the results you've seen around you with the teams around you, Burnley picking up a win again last night, and other teams sort of being drawn into it from above, do you think this potentially could be the closest relegation fight we've seen in quite some time? Well,
I'm hopeful, and that was what I always said when we won our back-to-back games against Everton and then Watford. There's big games coming up to play at Carrow Road. We've got a lot of teams who are in and around us, so to speak. So it'll be nice. We know that we have to win games to draw other teams in. Burnley have done that in the last couple of games, and you've seen what's happened. So we're not concentrating really on other results. We're just concentrating on ourselves and hopefully close some of them other teams in.
With that in mind, is it essential you get back to winning ways against Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, our form we feel is okay. We've just had back-to-back games against Man City and Liverpool. I was more pleased with the Liverpool performance than the Man City. Obviously the quality told in the end with the quality of the goals, but we feel that we could have done better as well with the goals. And I said after the games, no disrespect to any other teams. I don't think that they're similar to Liverpool and Man City, and nobody else will.
Southampton, though, have been on a good run form, haven't they? What are you expecting from them?
Southampton's a real tough game. Always a tough game whenever you play them. As you say, on a really good run of form. Recently held Man City at home. And playing some really good football. Had a really good win against Everton last week as well. So, really respectful of what Ralph has done at the club. And it was my first game at Southampton, so I'm sure they'll be wanting to turn the tables on the result.
And what's the mindset of your players going into this? Are you telling them not to look at the table, not to think about the last two results? Yeah,
we can't concentrate on the table at the moment. We've just got to concentrate on our results, on our performances. If we perform well, we've got a good chance of getting the results. If we perform to the standard we did against Liverpool, it's going to be a real tight game, and we can be close to getting a victory.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, Kirsty.
Thanks, Kirsty. Okay, Andy, over to you, please.
Morning, Dean. I just wonder, I know you're talking about how the players are obviously concentrating on the very next game coming up. What sort of manager are you when the likes of Burnley and Watford are playing last night? Are you watching those games or not? Are you trying to keep a blinkered approach?
No, I think I was watching Afterlife on Netflix, so I didn't really find out the results till after.
It's a good choice at the very, very least. Excellent series. Just talking Adam Eder, obviously out for the season. How big a blow is that for Norwich? Because he seemed to be really, really finding his form, didn't he, alongside Timo up front?
Well, he just, scored his first Premier League goal and had started to perform in a more consistent manner to what we wanted from him. We have to remember he's still a young player. One who's come through the ranks here, and he's one who's got a bright future. So, yes, he's a loss, but we've got some good players coming back as well.
Kirsty mentioned it there, and you mentioned it as well, dragging more teams into this relegation battle. It's so tight. How far up the table do you think the relegation battle is?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, only time will tell. It's had a real uneven look to it, with a lot of the postponements over the Christmas period. Some teams have played a lot more than others, and it's only now that they're all starting to catch up with the rearranged games. So, I think when it will start taking a lot more shape when everybody's played the even games.
And just another one of the individuals, Mila Rashika's, his form's really picked up in the last few weeks, hasn't it? I just wonder what the key is to that turnaround in form from him. Is it the fact that he's now settled in the Premier League? Yeah,
I think so. I think adaptation is always a big word for, new players coming into the country, a different country. He played really well in my first couple of games, to be honest, against Southampton and Wolves, and then unfortunately got injured. So he had 4 to 5 weeks out, and he's just had a consistent run in the team, and his performances are getting better and better. And with consistency comes confidence, and he looks a confident player at the moment.
They don't come much more difficult than Liverpool and Manchester City back-to-back. So I suppose there's no easy game in the Premier League, is there? But how key is this next stretch of fixtures to Norwich's outcome of the season?
Yeah, I think every game we go into is key now. I said that Liverpool and Man City wouldn't define our season, but I also said there wasn't free hits as well. We're not afforded free hits in the position we're in. But Southampton's as tough as they come as well now, because they're on a good run of form. They've got good players, really good head coach. But we've beat them once, and we can take confidence and belief in that. But we certainly have to go and perform to get a result there.
You mentioned the respect you have for Ralph, obviously. How impressed have you been with the job that he's progressively done over at Southampton?
Yeah, really impressed, because they've sold some really good players as well. They've had periods where they've been I think they were top of the Premier League at one stage, and then went through a terrible run of results. And I think the class of the coach is when they can turn them results around and then performances around. And they've never lost belief in the way they play and their identity. And, it's always been good to see.
And just finally, obviously, it's a game that allows you to play ahead of the other relegation rivals. How important is that if you can pick up a result tomorrow night?
It's only important if you get the win, to get some scoreboard pressure on the others. That's what we'll be concentrating on.
Top man. Thanks, Dean. Best of luck tomorrow night, and enjoy watching the rest of Afterlife as well.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, Jim, over to you, please.
Morning, sir.
Morning, Jim. You okay?
Yes, not too bad. Yeah, the traffic around Norwich is starting to get rather a bit too sticky, I think, for everybody. Not that you'll probably worry about that getting over to Colney in the mornings. Dean, when you analyse the matches like on Saturday, there was just an instance just before Liverpool's goal. I think it was Milo and Kenny were sort of battling for the same ball, then you lost possession, and then that's what led to Liverpool's goal. How do you sort of break down those incidents when you reanalyse those with the players?
To be honest, that wasn't what caused the goal. We felt there was some defensive issues with the goals where our positioning could have been better for all three of them. So on review, that was what we looked back at. Sometimes we left a couple of gaps in our back four, and it allowed their players to run into the gaps. If you don't leave gaps, then there's nowhere for them to run. On the whole, I thought defensively we were good as a team. I thought, on the counter attack we were exceptional. I think we had something like 28, 29 entries into the final third, and over half of them ended up in their penalty box as well, which is really good, considering the quality of the opposition.
How do you then go about making sure those mistakes aren't emulated? Again, I know it's a different class of opposition you're playing, but the basics are still the same, aren't they? You know, not leaving space, getting tighter. How do you kind of drill that into the squad?
Yeah, well, as I said, we've been reviewing the games and reflected on it. We've pointed out where we think we can do better, and then we go out on a training pitch and put it into action and practice. And hopefully we learn from them mistakes, and then we get better in the next game. Are
the players receptive to that then? I mean, I guess nobody really likes to be sort of, pulled up on criticism, or are they quite open to understanding, where they need to step things up?
They're really receptive. They're a group that's becoming real good learners at the moment. And, that's one of the ways that we can, bridge the gap between ourselves and, the quality of the teams that are in this league by becoming the best learners that we can. And I feel with this group, they're becoming really good learners.
You talked about, obviously, Norwich's season is not going to be defined against Manchester City and Liverpool, and also the teams that you're coming up against now are not going to be of the same calibre. But how do you also balance against complacency? Because there might be people who look at it and saying, oh, well, Norwich should be able to go and get a result with Southampton, but it's not cut and dry against any team.
No, listen, I would never underestimate the class and the quality that Southampton have got, and my players won't either. Every game that you go into is a tough game in the Premier League, and this is as tough now as the last game was, even though it was against Liverpool. But we've got to make sure that our performance levels are really high, because that's the only way we can go and get victories.
That's great, Dean. Best of luck. Safe travels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Connor, over to you, please.
Morning, Dean. How are you?
Morning, Connor. I'm good, thank you.
Good. This game sort of kickstarts a really important block of 3 games for you. How do you kind of approach it? Can you go into it and think about these games as kind of a block of 3? Do you kind of isolate them like that, I suppose, in the kind of grand scheme of the running?
No, not really, because we've also got the FA Cup 5th round at Liverpool as well in amongst it. So there's 4 really big games for us. We're looking forward to them. They're the challenges that we want, where we feel that we're in a position where our performance levels have improved. Our learning has improved, and now we have to go and put it into practice in the last dozen or so games, and get the required points to keep us up.
The nature of the relegation battle, as other people have discussed, it feels like every week there's another team that's maybe won a couple of games to push them up. Do you get the sense from your squad that there's real excitement heading into this next block of games to make sure that they're the team that's being spoke about as the team firmly in the race, I suppose?
I just feel with the last few performances, there's been a growing belief. We've got some players back from injury. The likes of Matthias Norman, we've got Lucas Rupp, who's trained with us now the last couple of days as well. And I think when you've got these players coming back and pushing each other for places in the team, as I said, Tim Krull as well, I think, there's a growing belief that, we can get better and finish the season well.
Jacob Sorensen, I suppose, is the other one. Is he fully back and available now for you?
He's back training with us as well, yeah.
Good stuff. You mentioned earlier on about the Southampton game being your first one in charge of Norwich. Can you take encouragement from the way that game transpired at Carrow Road, or do you get the sense that it may be a completely different game away from home this time?
It could be a different game. We certainly weren't good enough in the first half. Southampton played to a real high level that first half. But second half, I thought we played to a real high level as well. It was the ultimate game of 2 halves. We managed to come out victors in the game, but it'll be a different challenge now. Southampton in a real good place at the moment, so it's going to be a difficult but good challenge.
How much improvement from that day at Southampton and maybe your first sort of block of games in charge? How much improvement do you feel you've seen in the team to where they are now in terms of performances and results, I suppose?
Yeah, I think we've become a lot more defensive savvy. We got hit massively by a block in December where we had up to 10 or 11 players out. So, very difficult to improve so much without them players training or playing. But now we're starting to see the best version of ourselves.
You kind of touched upon maybe the defensive errors against Liverpool. Maybe what do you feel needs to improve for Norwich City to stay in the Premier League in the next 13 games? How can you affect what your team performances are like, and which areas in particular do you feel you need to see a bit more improvement from?
Our concentration levels, they're key in them marginal moments that happen in games. We're getting closer to being really good in them moments. As I said, I thought against both Man City and Liverpool, our counter-attacking was excellent, and possibly could have scored more goals. But as long as we're missing chances, I'm okay. It's when you're not missing chances and not getting chances that I worry.
Absolutely. In terms of Southampton, it feels like there's quite a bit of a similarity between the way that they maybe function in the Premier League to how you and Norwich want to function in the Premier League as well. They play young players, for instance. They don't have huge reserves of cash to go out and splash on players. Do you see quite a few similarities between the way Southampton sort of deal with being a club in the Premier League to how you guys would like to deal with being a club in the Premier League?
I think they're an example of where we'd like to get to, but they've got 5 or 6 years on us in the Premier League, where you stay up and the funds that you get can mount up very quickly, and you can become established in the Premier League. We're yet to do that, and that's what we're fighting to do this season.
Just a couple more. Christos Solis wasn't part of the matchday squad last week. I think we saw him in 23's action Monday, I think it was. What more does he need to do to get into your thoughts on perhaps more of a consistent basis?
Yeah, we're just working on him to improve. His confidence has obviously been hit by not playing as much and not being involved as much. So we're trying to get him the game time so we can improve his productivity and his confidence. And that's both ways that we're working with him and talking to him, and he understands it. And I feel for the lad, because it's not his fault that we go and buy a player for a certain amount of money, but they have to live with that tag. And I just want him to get back to, not worrying about that and just enjoying his football.
Well, that was going to be the follow-up, really, in terms of do you think people forget that he's still so young? He was only 20 last month, I think, and you say that price tag does weigh down on players. Is it about almost taking him out of the limelight to try and improve that confidence and address areas of his game that you'd like to see improvement from?
Yeah, it certainly is. He's only a young player, and he's come to a foreign country for him, and he's finding his way, and that adaptation period has probably took a little bit longer, but we're willing to wait and work with him and nurture him because we see a talented player.
Lovely stuff. Thanks, Dean. Good luck tomorrow.
Cheers. Thanks, Connor.
Cheers, Connor. Mike, and then we'll end with Phil Daly, please, but Mike first.
Dean, good morning.
Morning, Mike. You okay?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. As I said to you a few weeks ago, I thought you were harshly treated at Aston Villa. Are you enjoying your afterlife, seeing as you foolishly mentioned afterlife earlier on? Because you appear to be relishing the challenge there and thoroughly enjoying the challenge of lifting Norwich up.
I like your thinking. I like the way you've put that together. But yes, no, I'm enjoying the challenge. It's a great challenge. Listen, the Premier League's a great league to be challenged in. You've got so many top players and top coaches who you're coming up against week in, week out, and it certainly keeps your mind active. And I'm enjoying the challenge. And this is a wonderful club with wonderful people, and the challenge is to make sure that we stay in this league.
Are you planning at the moment for an either-or scenario where next season you might be in the Premier League or you might not, or is all your sort of energy channeled into staying up and what that entails?
Yeah, at the moment, all my energy is totally on winning the next football game and then improving and trying to win the next football game. Wherever that takes us, it takes us. Obviously, you have to plan for the future. So, you're looking at different scenarios in terms of pre-season next year because there's different start dates for, the EFL and the Premier League. But, my mindset is just concentrating on each game in the Premier League.
One last one from me, Dean. Are you confident you've got the firepower to win enough games between now and the end of the season, and that there's not too much responsibility on Timu's shoulders to score the goals? I mean, he ran his socks off at Watford the other week when I saw you there. He ran his socks off at Liverpool the other day. Is there enough firepower around him to score the goals to keep you up?
Yeah, I believe so. Milo Rashica's got his first Premier League goal now. Josh Sargent has got his first couple of Premier League goals. The team who you've spoken about has obviously been scoring goals. Matthias Norman can score goals from midfield. Ken McLean got one against Wolves last week, a few weeks ago. So goals are coming from different areas now. And set pieces have got to be a big thing for us as well. And, so my centre halves know they're not excused from, going up and scoring goals as well.
Top man. Good luck tomorrow night. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. And finally, Phil from BBC Radio Norfolk, please.
Hi, Dean. Nice to see you. So you talk about the belief in the players. It's strange, isn't it? It's been a funny week in the respect that you played really well against Liverpool, pushed them pretty hard. Yet you've gone from third from bottom to bottom. So the mind games and the players looking at the table. You have to keep almost reinforcing what is happening on the pitch.
Yeah, I've said to them right from the off, we can't control what happens away from our own performances. We're only in control of our performances, and if they're good enough, then the results follow. What happens elsewhere is not under our control, so don't worry about it. I believe that staying up is going to be solely down to what we do and not what other teams do.
Yeah, I mean, with that in mind, even last night, the Burnley game, you have a Spurs side who have beaten Manchester City a few days ago and then lose to Burnley, who are in the bottom three. I mean, does the Premier League get more unpredictable? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but I've seen, Antonio's interview after, and they've lost 4 out of the last 5, haven't they, Tottenham? So, it's a tough place to go, Burnley. Very disciplined, and we've all seen the exploits that Sean has done there, and very respectful of Burnley. So I, for one, was never writing them off. They certainly know how to stay up in this league.
Yeah, I know you've talked about the sort of positive mindset before. How important is that in the grand scheme of things? And I mean that because, I think it's 7 points between 14th and 20th now. So, it's almost a case of holding your nerve as much as, or more than, the teams above you. Because if a few of them lose it mentally, that can be an opportunity for you.
Yeah, I mean, the key is to be in good moments within the Premier League and, maintaining good form. We can't deny we've lost 2 games on the spin, but they've been against Manchester City and Liverpool, and our performance levels were okay in them games, but it wasn't good enough to win football games. But we still feel that our form is there. Other teams may have lost their form at the moment, and it's important that we make sure that belief is there with ours to continue the confidence.
You obviously took over a tricky time because of COVID. Now the COVID measures have come to an end. Are you back to sort of full scale what you want to be able to do behind the scenes as far as learning is concerned?
No, we're still waiting to hear the Premier League stance on on whether there's going to be new protocols and whether we follow government guidelines or not, because we've had very strict protocols from the Premier League to maintain the last couple of seasons really. There's obviously been a loosening off within the country now. So we're just waiting on the guidance now from the Premier League.
What would you like to see be the case? Would you like to see it sort of open up completely so you can work with the players one-to-one, or are you still got a sort of air of caution?
I think there's still going to have to be an air of caution. But, if we're now being told it's not a legal requirement to go and isolate if you're positive, so it's going to be very hard, I think, now for the Premier League to stop players playing if they are positive now, such is their legal right.
Yeah, and back to the football. I think 10 games unbeaten at Southampton at home. I mean, why is St Mary's such a fortress?
Because they've got good players and a good head coach. It's pretty simple. They played very well against Man City the other week. I watched the game, but they're a hard-working team with quality, and with that you can make your home ground a real tough place to go, and it certainly is a tough place to go.
And it'd be nice to be able to do that with Carrow Road, wouldn't it, for the remaining home games of the season?
Well, I said all along that I felt that Carrow Road's going to be that important for us. That's where the majority of our points are going to have to come from to stay in this league.
Top man. Good luck tomorrow. Thank you.
Cheers, Phil.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. Thanks, everybody. As always, the recording will be shared around the group later this morning. Thank you.